Hello, friends, and welcome back. So, this is going to be episode 0 of my modded Shattered Space playthrough, and this is going to be focusing a lot on like a critical analysis, and we're going to make it very episodic, where we're breaking up Shattered Space into segments, doing a little bit of critical analysis as we play through. We're also going to be featuring a modded load order, and with the hopes of this series, we can actually spend the time and give Shattered Space a proper review, which I don't know if it ever got. At least the reviews I saw, majority of them were rather rushed, and they didn't really get into like the depth of Shattered Space. So hopefully with this series we can take our time, go through all the quests, analyze them critically, see where Shattered Space is deficient, and then see where it's actually doing very well and deserves some praise. So there's going to be a fair amount of that. And then also I hope in this series to kind of dispel or demystify load orders a little bit. So we have a long form format here, and I have the ability to answer questions. So if you are watching and you have like general load order questions, please feel free to comment them down below. Or if you have some opinions about Shattered Space that you'd like to express, comment them down below. If I think it's worthy of talking about, I'll put you up on screen while we're doing the playthrough, and we'll discuss like different opinions and different perspectives on Shattered Space, and give it the critical analysis it deserves. But let's go ahead and get into the load order I'm going to be playing with. So first off the bat is going to be Forgotten Frontiers POI expansion. This just adds 5 POIs. We might get into this when we do the procedural generation of Shattered Space, which is probably where I'm going to be most critical of the DLC. We might not see it at all, but I'm just mentioning it. And we'll move on to the next one. This is Dark Universe Takeover. Same exact story, just adds a little bit of stuff to the procedural generation. We might get into it when we start analyzing the procedural generation within Shattered Space. But let's move on again, where we're going to get in some meat and potatoes mods. Okay, this is Bedlam Dungeon Randomizer, and this does exactly what it says. So we're going to randomize the dungeons a little bit within Shattered Space, and this is going to be kind of one of those things that's really going to impact our gameplay. Next mod that we might see in our playthrough of Shattered Space, actually we're definitely going to see it, is Watchtower, and mainly the sky drops. So we're going to be bringing those into play within Shattered Space and see kind of like how does this change the dynamic. And the next one up is going to be Starborn Among Us. This is going to add some Starborn combatants into the mix within these dungeons, so adding another layer of challenge and difficulty. But let's go ahead and move on to the next piece of this load order. The next piece is going to be kind of like a twofer here. We have DarkStar, which overhauls the end game mechanics, or the end gameplay of Starfield itself. And with that, we also have the DarkStar patch for Shattered Space, which I am told brings Shattered Space and kind of makes it the most difficult, challenging combat we have. This load order, all available on Xbox. It would be a little bit costly. I think it would probably cost you somewhere a little bit shy of $30 to purchase all these mods, but them working in tandem is going to kind of change up the gameplay, make things a lot more challenging and a lot more interesting. Looking forward to the added difficulty, and then also those new mechanics with those sky drops. But on the docket, what I do have planned first is going to be just doing the Oracle. So the first episode we're going to do is the Oracle. If you do have some opinions about this quest, what you thought about it, please drop it in the comments below. I appreciate it. I'm not going to be recording these episodes live. I'm going to, record them and then post them later on, so they're going to be a little bit better quality, etc. And typically when I live stream, I usually get a lot of latency issues, and it just doesn't work out. But yeah, if you do have opinions about the first quest, or like general modding questions, like stuff you're just confused on and just want some clarity on, I'll be happy to like discuss through it as well. That way we can, make kind of like dispel the confusion around mods, because I know a lot of people do struggle with mods in load order. I will also say the mods I presented there, they are in a working order. I'm not exactly sure where I should position Watchtower yet, but everything's functioning with it. So this might be a suboptimal load order, but it's still working for me. I'm not experiencing any kind of bugs or anything like that. But as always, please give me a like and subscribe. I do appreciate them. And I'll probably be recording the first episode tonight, so if you do drop some comments down below, I will very much appreciate them, and I'll try to incorporate it into my playthrough as we're doing like critical analysis of that first quest. Basically, I'm going to stop right where we land on Varun Kai, and then just call it there. So this is going to be a very episodic approach, and I do have everything kind of planned out. So we're going to be looking at the quests first, then we will look at like the POIs that quests do not send us to, and then we're going to go ahead and venture off into like the procedural generation, and we're going to try to critique everything here. I will try to separate, the modded content from what the base Shattered Space is, to see, we'll critique Shattered Space by itself, and then also have that look of, what can you do if you bring mods to the table and play it with mods? Does it get any better? Does it get any worse? Where are the deficiencies in Shattered Space, and where it definitely excels? So I played through Shattered Space a couple times now. I've really enjoyed it. There's definitely some deficiencies in Shattered Space itself, namely the procedural generation, lack of ship parts, and ship combat in general. But we're going to go ahead and kind of like with this series do a deep dive, critique, go quest by quest, look at where the deficiencies are, what quests were done very well, where could Shattered Space have done better, and also we'll probably be talking about the upcoming DLC, which I'm sure is going to be probably announced this weekend. So later on in the series, we'll be able to do a little bit of wild speculation about the upcoming DLC, and wild speculation is always fun, just as long as we take it with like a grain of salt that we're probably going to be wrong in our wild speculation. But as always, I do appreciate you watching, and you know what? Please enjoy the rest of your day. I might be posting another video on this exact one probably tomorrow morning, because I'll do a little bit of editing after I record it. But please let me know your thoughts on the Oracle or any kind of modding questions in general.